Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat at malugod na pagbati mula sa Future Earth Philippines. Welcome po sa 113th episode ng the Filipino SDG Action Hour. And once again, join us as we discuss the topic, food prices are high, so what can be done? So our speaker for today is a distinguished Filipino agronomist and retired professor from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Born in the province of Tarlac, Philippines, he has significantly contributed to the agricultural science, particularly in crop science and organic farming. He earned his Doctor of Philosophy in Agronomy and Soil Science from the University of Florida in 1985. So his research interest encompasses sustainable agriculture, organic farming, and crop management, with a focus on addressing challenges posed by climate change. So throughout his career, he has contributed significantly to agricultural research, authoring numerous studies on crop production system and farming practices. So his work emphasizes the importance of sustainable and organic approaches to enhance agricultural productivity while preserving environmental health. And his excellence in research and teaching has been recognized with several awards, including the UP Scientific Productivity Award and the Crop Science Award from the Crop Science of Society of the Philippines. He has also served as a plenary speaker at international conferences, sharing his expertise on organic agriculture and sustainable farming practices. And as a dedicated educator and researcher, he continues to influence agricultural practices in the Philippines, promoting methods that balance productivity with environmental stewardship. So let's all welcome my my professor before, Dr.
Ano natin.
Chidoro Ted Mendoza.
By the way, ako po ay papasalamat sa Future Earth Philippines, particularly kay uh, Tita Luli dito sa imbitasyon niya. Nung gagawin ko na itong presentation, I'm reminded dito sa ano ba ang layunin ng SDD Action Hour. So, muli niripaso ko yon, tatlo sila na kailangan daw ay uh, ma-highlight yung knowledge to action initiative that contribute to achieving sustainable development goals, facilitate discussion on local problem solving and future thinking, encourage collaboration among stakeholders including LGUs, universities, businesses and NGOs, people's organization, and addressing community challenges. So yun ang mga tatlong aim po, ang guidepost po ng presentation na ito, yung discussion na ito. Uh, so, ang summation po noon na gusto ko sanang i-share sa inyo itong matagal ko na rin mga data na nandyan na yan, naka-data bank na. Sabi nga ni Mark kanina, tagal-tagal din ako nagturo. Sabi nga niya, naging professor daw niya ako, naging estudyante ko pa siya. No? So, kung titingnan ho natin yung 17 social development goals, ang pinaka-feature nga dito ay ang overpopulation na daw tayo, one of the greatest threats to humanity. Of course, later on, ang sinasabi ko naman ay ang threat ngayon, yun ang climate change. Okay? And then, yung population natin, ang tinuturing na slows down progress towards sustainable development goals, yun ang sabi ng UN. Pag inanalyze ho natin nga, yung population, yun ang driver ng food at of course, paano tayo kakain, that is still part of agriculture. Okay? On the other hand, ang naging suma total naman ng ating pagkain ng agriculture, agriculture is the most destructive human activity. Kung titingnan ho natin, lahat ng 17 Sustainable Development Goals ay may relasyon sa pagkain natin. Kaya yung presyo ng pagkain, food price is a sensitive factor. So, in relation to the pursuit of sustainable development goals, okay, pwede nating tanong, is the current food system sustainable? Immediately, ang sagot po dito ay hindi. Which translate to my first null hypothesis that the current food system is unsustainable. So, ang kailangan, logical action or action to make it sustainable, but how can we make it sustainable? So that is the alternative hypothesis that we can make the food system sustainable. uh, so ang pinag-aralan ko mahigito, tiningnan ko yung interrelationship of different factors. Kaya nga tayo nag-agriculture dahil sa human population. Naging masaya ang ang mga tao sa liputan nung madiskubre ni Edwin Drake yung oil in 1878. At doon kasi nasolve yung problema sa transport, sa land preparation and everything. At yun ang nag-propel on what we call industrial chemical agriculture. But of course, our agriculture, bago ka makapag-agriculture, siyempre, putulin mo yung mga punong kahoy. So it led to massive deforestation. So yun ang naging dahilan ng tawag ko na ay biodiversity genocide kasi napakadaming nawala na ng mga biodiversity natin. Siya ang nag-lead din ng soil erosion, soil degradation, so to speak, dito sa Pilipinas. Landslide nga, natatandaan pa natin, isang buong barangay nagtabunan ng lupa, etc. So, yung industrial chemical agriculture, naging madali ho kasi yung pagsasaka dahil sa chemical fertilizer, dahil sa mga machineries, nakapag-produce ng maraming grains. So, yun naman ang pinakain sa livestock. Essentially, naging meat-based ang diet ng tao. So, ang paggamit ng chemical inputs, yun ang dahilan kaya tumaas yung production, kaya hindi nagutom yung 1 billion people. But on the other end, yung production-oriented or productivity at all costs ay merong consequences, hindi na na-consider, which is, soil erosion, and then later on, di-discuss natin yung pollutants. Okay, so yung meat-based diet, and dahil din sa high greenhouse gas emission ng mga industrial chemical agriculture, mataas na populasyon, yun ang nag-propel nitong global warming at climate change natin. Isang pag-aaral na ginawa noon ng mga grain specialist scientists, ang sabi nila up to 52% ng ating greenhouse gas emission ay galing sa food system. Kaya nga, yun nga, ang sabi nga ni George Monbiot, farming is the most destructive human activity, or the food that we eat is the most destructive human activity. If we analyze, the current food system is unsustainable. O yung sinasabi nga natin, industrialized, chemically based agriculture. Tingnan po natin yung sa production, no? Yung paggamit ng synthetic chemical inputs intensive, that they are fossil fuel based. Okay? So, napakalaki ho yung energy footprint ng ating production, maraming pollutants which are there in the food chains, yung toxicities, acute or chronic or latent, mga hazardous to chemicals na ho yan, yung mga pollutants or pesticides, nandiyan na ho sa katawan natin because they bioconcentrate. In fact, ang analysis ng isang entomologist, professor noon dito sa UPL, sabi niya, all our pesticides are endocrine disruptors in addition to the fact that they emit greenhouse gas emission. Mga fertilizer natin nagkukos ng eutrophication. Yung N-fertilizer is a major contributor of greenhouse gas emission. Ang datos dito, 1.2 billion tons CO2 equivalent ang nagko-contribute niya dun sa manufacturing at application kasi mataas ang nitrous oxide emission. Siya rin ang nagkokos ng major deforestation or biodiversity loss. Kasi nga, yung 3.5 billion hectares of lands or 70% of the 5 billion hectares of agricultural land are devoted for pasture and forage and feed production of our cattle. At the same time, agriculture is the major consumer of fresh water, 70% of it. So again, this lends support to that statement of George Monbiot that agriculture farming is the most destructive human activity. On the consumption side, tingnan mo natin sa demand side, yung high demand for food, the humans, hindi na lang humans ngayon, marami natin tayong dogs, later on ipipresent ko yung data, marami tayong consumers, konti lang yung mga magsasaka na, mataas ang consumption ng meat and animal-based products, at ito ang isang maganda pang, or maganda, yung hindi natin ina-anticipate, yung urbanization at pagtaas ng income, which is part of the sustainable development goals, no? Ay nagkokos din ng malaking pagkain, massive. And then, ang hindi pa masyadong nakukonsider ngayon yung massive use of plastics for packaging, transport, storage, distribution, and marketing. Kasi nga, yun na nga, na-urbanize or even in rural areas, malaki rin ang paggamit natin ng mga plastics. Roughly about 9 billion tons of plastics ang na manufacturer na. Kaya ngayon, plastic pollution is next to climate change daw, ang sabi nila is our problem. And then, malaki rin ang food wastage. And then, yung sa economic side naman, yung food globalization na ang gusto natin kumain ng mga imported foods, vice versa, nagki-criss-cross ang pagkain. Okay? So, meron siyang food miles effect na sinasabi, mataas ang greenhouse gas emission. So, with food globalization, ang gusto natin, ibababa na sana yung greenhouse gas emission dahil sa Paris Agreement, pero hindi tumataas. And ngayon, because of e-trading, okay, lalong nagiging malaki ang energy footprint natin. Okay? So, talakayin po natin isa-isa yung tatlong factors na sinabi ko, anong magiging impact nitong consumption and demand side. Isa-isa po, tingnan natin. The high demand for food, humans, pets, dogs, and cars. Nirecompute ko po yung 1.5 billion cats and dogs consume food equivalent of 1 billion people. Yung cars ho, sa corn lang ito, na 130 million tons of corn are manufactured into bioethanol. Ang food conversion po nito is 1.04 billion kilocalorie food equivalent of humans. Kaya napakataas ho ng demand. 8.2 billion lang po pag dinagdag natin yung dogs at saka cars, ang demand actually is already 10.24 billion people. On the consumption side, hindi po muna. Yung high consumption of meat and animal-derived foods, yung meat-based diet po, 300 million tons of meat or 1.2 billion grains are fed to this livestock to satisfy that 300 million And sabi ko nga kanina, 3.5 billion hectares of land for pasture and forage to feed the 1.5 billion cattle is spewing CO2 equivalent greater than all cars. At ang conversion po kasi napakahina 7 kilogram plant protein to produce 1 kilogram of animal protein. So in terms of resource use, meat-based diet requires 1.4 hectare, whereas plant-based vegan diet requires only 0.06 hectare. So ang translation po nito, yung 8.2 billion people, kung tayo lahat ay magiging meat-based diet, magngangailangan pa rin tayo ng 6 more Earths if we all become meat-based diet. Yung pagyaman ng mga tao, getting richer is fun, but it is not all good. The material footprint per capita in high-income countries is 60% higher than upper middle-income countries and more than 13 times higher than the level of low-income countries. The very high number of people escaping poverty or getting richer is the main reason that the average resources per person in 2020 shall increase by 71%. Current resource use is 1.75 times faster that they can regenerate. So, ang translation po nito, we will require 3 Earths more to supply our needs by 2050. So, ang Sustainable Development Goal number 12, ang sabi nga dito ay responsible consumption and production. Okay? Food consumption is not healthy and is not sustainable. Ito po ang hindi siguro alam ng maraming tao, that the current food that we eat has very narrow biodiversity. Ang dato na site ni UN Biodiversity expert Marieta Sacalyan, of the 250,000 known plant species, only 7,000 have been used for human food. Okay? 12 crops and 5 animal species provide 75% of world's energy intake. Last 50 years, human diets become 37% more similar. That current food production and consumption revolves around only three staples: rice, corn, wheat, supplying 40% of caloric intake. Food biodiversity is crucial for better nutrition, health, and wellness. That global malnutrition, many health issues, poverty, and environmental degradation is just a consequence, according to Marieta Sacalyan. So, with respect to food biodiversity, we need at least a minimum of 20 species for good health. So, ilan na bong bilangin nga ho ninyo kung ilan ang different food species na kakain ninyo kada linggo. Ang optimum daw is 41 species of plants and animals, okay? To have a good health. Kasi yung related dito sa gut microorganisms, dun sa anong ito. On the other end, kung titingnan natin ang ating nakaraan, yung Bahay Kubo song natin meron ng 18 crop species dyan. Okay, globally what is happening sa production naman? Hirap na po, difficult and high risk production environment due to climate change, yung flood, etc. Decreasing and deteriorating resource base for production, yung land quality is 40 to 50% lesser na ngayon. Yung water, sabi ko nga kanina, 70%, at ito raw ang maglilimit. Meron nga doon sa Water Resources Institute, ang susunod na giyera daw baka water ang magiging dahilan. Kasi maghahagap sila pa. Ang India ay problematic na rin kasi to produce their food, they have to pump water. Kaya lumalalim ang kanilang water aquifer. And besides that, in relation to other researches, R&D for agriculture is diminishing, is being reducing. And then, napakataas ng demand natin sa pagkain. On the production side naman, yung how to produce, yung cost of inputs, tumaas na, labor and logistic cost for production to marketing, tumaas, mataas ang cost of money, and then later on, yung inflation. So, tumaas ang cost of production. High demand, constant supply, okay? So, anong mangyayari sa price? Sabi nga, as early as 2008, no less than the ADB chief said, the era of cheap food is over. If we apply that concept to the Philippines, are food prices high? In terms of the difficulties or risks imposed by climate change, the Philippines is one of the top 3 countries most vulnerable to climate crisis or climate change. Kaya nga sa San Fernando, La Union, dineclare na ng mayor doon yung La Union is on a climate emergency daw. Okay? So, yung pagka-deteriorate ng ating land resources, ito may nag-aral na sa ating mga lupa na decrease na ng 40 to 50%. Okay? So, marami tayong Pilipino na, 120 million. By the way, yung ideal carrying capacity natin is only 30 million. At dumarami rin ng mga pet lovers. And then, above all, nag-i-increase ho yung meat intake. Okay? So, later on, i-analyze natin yun. So, ano itong presyo ng pagkain? Okay. So, yun na nga. Let us accept. Let us not deny it that the era of cheap food is over. So, ang isa pang nangyari, tumaas ang demand natin ng rice daw. Okay? Maliban sa pagtaas ng populasyon, tumaas ang per capita consumption natin ng rice. Na usually, noong 1990s, mga 95 kilograms per capita lang. So ginawan ko ng calculation nito, napakaraming numbers yun, sinamarize ko na lang. Ah, ah, ang per capita consumption natin ay 95 kilogram lang, sufficient tayo sa rice. Up to year 2035, at the level of 12.8 million tons, yun ang production natin. But kung tataas siya ng 140 kilograms, okay, dapat tumaas ang production natin ng rice ng 76% by 2050. But only 20% by year 2050. So, kung pinag-uusapan natin ho yung rice, ay sana makabalik tayo sa 95 kilogram per capita. Hindi tayo kinakailangan mag-import ng maraming rice. Kanina nabanggit ko na yung increasing meat intake. From 9 kilogram in the 1960s, tumaas na po yan ng 30 kilogram in the 2020s. Kinalculate ko ito, ano ang caloric equivalent ng meat intake natin. It can provide the caloric food equivalent of 120 million Filipinos. So, ang point ko, we just reduce our meat intake by one half, okay? Or 15 kilograms. We are more or less food self-sufficient. We will not be importing 4.7 million tons of rice worth 160 billion pesos, 60 billion pesos worth of soybean. We import all additional import of 2 to 3 million tons of corn to feed our livestock, importing at the same time all those vitamins, minerals, antibiotics for our livestock. Yun ho ang malaking ano nga natin ngayon. So, kinumpute ko po yung import cost component ng meat natin. Sa corn, 56%. In addition to that, we import 2 to 3 million tons of corn grits. Okay? All of our soybeans are imported. Vaccines, antibiotics, minerals, yung nabanggit mo nga. Yung pork po, yung chicken, kinumpute ko yung import cost component niyan ay 72. Okay? So, and then, of course, we are also importing cheap chicken parts. Okay? Tinignan ko yung importation. If we are to import 4.7 million, last year we imported 4.7 million metric tons. Although, ang sabi ko nga dito, hindi dapat sila nag-import ng ganon kasi nga, kaya lang naman nila naka-decide na mag-import ng ganon kasi itinaas nga yung per capita consumption from 110 kilograms, ginawa ito ng 149 kilograms per capita. Okay? So, ano nangyari? Ang pag nilagyan ho natin ng forgone labor ito, nawalan ho ng 4.7 about 160,000 workers in 1 year doon sa production at doon sa milling about 63,000 workers. So pag pinag-add mo yon, yung job loss po is 815,000 workers. Ang peso value is about 145 billion pesos na yun sana nagsisirculate sa mga rice areas natin. Kaya ito po ang masaklap. Later on, ipipresent natin yung data sa mga nagugutom. Gusto nila maging mura yung pagkain kahit na medyo na-temper nga yung presyo ng pagkain with this huge importation, pero wala naman ibibili yung tao. Kasi nga, wala silang trabaho. So, ano ang threat sa food security? Ito po, nung si Secretary William Darpa, sinabi niya ito, no, na-publish nung March 30, 2023, there dwindling number of Filipino farmers. Ang sabi niya, if nothing is done to make it worthwhile for more Filipinos to take up farming, the Philippines will face a critical shortage of farmers in just 12 years. 2023 po yon, so ibig sabihin 10 years na lang kasi 2050 na tayo ngayon. Maraming anak ng magsasaka, wala nang gustong pumunta sa pagsasaka. When we say farmers, of the 5 million farmers, 9 out of 10 are rice farmers. Sino nga naman ang gusto pang magsaka? Who wants to be poor? Ito po, dito sa bagsak presyo ng palay ngayon, nalulugi po at kaya ito ang napakalaking issue ngayon. At nai-report nga, naluluging magsasaka, nagpakamatay sa Gimba, Nueva Ecija. So, yun po yung URL, pinapaimbestigahan daw ng DA ito, fake news daw ito, so on so forth. Dito sa pagbaba ng presyo ng palay, ang sabi ho ng spokesperson ng DA, nung kausapin siya ni Mr. Mariano, ang sabi daw niya sa kanya, hindi raw totoo yun, fake news yun daw yun, kasi daw 18 pesos per kilogram. Yun ang presyo ng NFA. Hindi naman namimili ng ganun ang mga traders. At saka ang NFA, ang kaya lang naman bilhin ay about 5% ng volume of production. Ang kinakailangan mabili ng NFA para makapag-intervene dun sa price manipulations ng mga traders ay kailangan umabot ng 25% ng production. Okay? At ito pa, gusto nila pang ibaba. Maraming nag-i-expect dun sa pangako ni BBM nung kumakampanya na gagawin 20 pesos per kilogram daw yung rice. Lalo na ho sigurong walang magsasaka pag ganyan ang lalo tayong kakapusin sa pagkain pag binagsak ang presyo ng uh, uh, ng palay, ng bigas. Okay? Okay, so tingnan po natin yung presyo ng tatlong pagkain natin, rice, pork, and egg. Are their prices really high? Kung pumunta po ako sa Bayi Market, ang regular milled rice with grains from 40 to 60 pesos kilogram. Yung 60 pesos per kilogram ho, malagkit na yon. Okay? Makakabili ng murang bigas, meron nga 25 pesos per kilo, pero pati yung aking aso hindi na halos makain. Ayaw nilang kainin. Okay? So, nung tiningnan ko yung effect ng inflation sa rice, yung inflation adjusted price of rice relative to its price in the 1970s is 128 kilograms, 128 pesos per kilogram. Okay? Ang pork naman, right now, ang presyo ng pork dito, yung spare ribs, 380, 450 pesos per kilogram. Yung lean meat, nung tingnan ko yung inflation adjusted price ay 958 per kilogram na. Or roughly, kung sa retailer, kung para magtubo sila, mga 1,300 na yun. So which is about 4 times nung kanyang regular price ngayon. Sa rice naman, more or less mga 3 times din. Okay? So ang ibig sabihin, maswerte ang consumer, hindi sumabay sa inflation yung presyo ng ating pagkain, ng ating bigas. Another procedure ang ginamit natin, yung total cost accounting in rice, na yung ecological cost, environmental cost isinama. Umaabot ho ng 334 pesos per kilogram ang presyo na ho ng rice. Of course, sa Japan, sa South Korea, umaabot ng 350 to 450 pesos per kilogram na yung rice nila yon. So, nandun na sila sa total cost accounting ng kanilang presyo. Okay? So, yun po ang calculations na ginawa ko sa inflation. And then, yung total cost accounting na ginawa ko for rice, dalawang cost dito, yung dun sa isa, yung data ni Biden sa technical working group niya, yung cost 1 sa social cost of carbon is only 120 kilogram per ton. Okay? So it ranges from 293 to 334 ang cost per kilogram. Pero tingnan po ninyo, wala pang cost ang biodiversity loss dito at wala pa rin yung health cost kasi napakahirap kung i-calculate yung mga ganon. Ano po? So, ang nangyari pa ngayon, kagaya nga nabanggit ko kanina, napakamura ng palay, pero mahal pa rin ang bigas relatively. Okay? Although sinasabi ko nga yung inflation adjustment price ay hindi pa nangyayari, okay? At ganun din ho ang itlog nang i-compute ko yung balik tayo doon. Ang ang eggs currently mga 8 pesos per piece. Pero ang inflation adjusted price ng eggs is already 21 pesos per piece. So, yun po, sa interview kanina kay Francis Uehara dun sa DJ Chacha Radio at saka ni Ted Filon. Na-interview nila yung presidente. Kaya daw ho, tumaas ang presyo ng itlog kasi ho, napakataas ho ng demand kasi ang dami ho daw nagpapakain. Alam natin, election time ngayon. So, so ang jackfruit ho, ang fruits natin is 100 pesos per kilogram. So, ang isang jackfruit na malaki na ganito, 18 kilograms siya. So, 1,800 pesos per piece. Okay? Sorry. Ang presyo ng fruits po, okay, ay napakamahal, including vegetable. Pero anong nangyari sa kamatis? Last month of 2024, 200 to 300 pesos per kilogram. Ngayon ho, napakamura na. 25 to 40 pesos per kilogram na lang. Kaya nga ang tawag sa kamatis is crazy tomatoes. Ang hot pepper, tumataas siya ng 100 pesos per kilogram, pero ngayon 250 na lang. Ganun din ang onions. Okay? So, ang dragon fruit po ngayon ay napakamahal kasi nga imported pa from Vietnam. Ang galing ng mga Vietnamese, alam nilang pabungahin ng off-season ang dragon fruit nila. Avocados, yung pong paboritong avocados ay wala pa. They are not yet in season. Yung mangga natin, Carabao variety, it's 80 pesos per kilogram. Ang sweet potatoes po from 60 to 70 pesos per kilogram. Okay? So, yun po ang ano natin, mga data natin, matataas talaga na ang presyo. Food prices are high. Okay? So, yun po ang ano natin, nasa pagkain natin ang food is your medicine. Sabi nga, food is also our medicine. Kung ayaw nating magbayad sa magsasaka natin, baka kung hindi tayo kakain, baka later on, doon na tayo sa doktor. Ang hindi pa rin napapansin ngayon, okay, yung mga agronomist na katulad ho namin ay vanishing na rin. Okay? Natatalo sa mga high-paying courses or discipline, law, medicine, mga ganyan, at saka sa agriculture ho, yung ag biotechnology, yung mga ganun po, doon pumupunta yung ating mga estudyante. Okay? So, halos wala nang pumunta sa bukid kasi nga mainit sa bukid. Mababa ang presyo ng pagkain, ng crop products, so on and so forth. Bakit sabi ko kanina, hindi naman kataasan ng presyo ng pagkain. Marami yung nagrereklamo ngayon na mataas ang presyo ng pagkain. Okay? Kasi ho, maraming mahirap sa atin. Ang survey ng SWS survey, 59% of Filipino families, maliw yata ang arithmetic nila dito, 16.3 million Filipinos, hindi po. Kasi kung 59 yan, about 70 million Filipinos yan. Kasi 59% Filipino families Multiply mo yan ng ano, uh, 0.6 yung 120, di 60 million, 70 million yun. Yung ang income daw po nito ay at least 13,873 pesos per month noong 2023 2025 na taon noon. Okay? So ang isang study naman ang sabi nila, Filipinos need to earn at least 110,000 a month to be happy. Okay? So siguro kokonti lang ang mga Pilipinos na merong ganitong income. Sa tuos ko, wala pang 5% sa mga ano natin ang may sahod o kumikita ng 110%. Mark, paki-validate mo ito. Okay? So yun ang tuos ko Okay? Wala pang 5% ang kumikita ng average na at least 110,000 pesos per month. So, food crisis depends as farmers harp of liberalization and then tinitingnan nila bakit walang masyado yatang action ang gobyerno. So, yun po ang isang press conference na binigay namin last time. So, ano po ang pwede natin gawin? What can we do? Okay? Or what should we do? Okay? So, siguro tingnan natin the short term, medium term, and long term. Siguro tingnan natin short term, 1 to 6 years, medium term, 7 to 14 years, long term, 15 years, and beyond. Short term, ang una ko pong palanig sinasabi, we have to stop this senseless land use conversion. We have to enact the National Land Use Act. 39 years na po na comatose sa Senate. Ang unang nag-file ho ng National Land Use Act, si ex-Senator Orly Mercado. Nagkausap po kami dito one time. Ano? So, bagsak na po ang food producing resources natin from 9 million hectares to 7.7 million hectares. Yun ang BSW data na sinabi sa amin noon. Ngayon, ang lumalabas, 13 million hectares daw ang ating land area, agricultural land area. Kasi in-include nila yung mga agroforestry areas. Okay? Ang rice land, 3.2 million hectares to 2.68 million hectares na lang. Sugar lands, 500,000 hectares to 380,000 hectares. Tubig natin, ang na-irrigate lang ay 1.5 million hectares. Land use conversion is faster than constructing new irrigation systems, which requires new money. So, yung land use conversion is wasting people's money. Big money for real estate or subdivision owners. So, ano po ang aasahan natin? We will import more food because of less lands, less farmers, aging farmers, mga anak ng magsasaka, ay ng magsaka, kasi nga rice farming is impoverizing and who wants to be poor? Okay? So, guys, as our staple food, there must be a paradigm shift. We should revisit the equation na ginagamit nila. Food security is equal to local production plus importation. So, ang suggestion po namin dito ay a National Food Security Act should be enacted to include the major features to produce sufficient rice locally, stop land use conversion, yung nabanggit ko na kanina, provide sufficient funds to NFA to buy sufficient palay so traders will not be able to manipulate prices. Every year in consultation with the farmers, a minimum floor price for palay should be set. And palay buyers and traders should issue receipt, should be mandated to issue receipt when buying palay so they cannot cheat the farmers. Okay? So, ang diet ho natin is so rice-centric. Ang suggestion po dito, our rice-centric diet must be diversified to become healthier and nutritious. We eat more rice because we eat less fruits and vegetables. Vegetables, only 30 kilogram. The optimum is 120 kilogram per year. Wala ho kaming data sa fruit. Obviously, mababa rin ang intake natin ng fruits kasi napakamahal daw. Okay? 100 pesos per kilogram. Yun ay kasama pa yung balat. So siguro tataas yan ng 150 pesos per kilogram kung yun na lang kinakain natin, which is about 3 times more expensive than rice. When we compute the caloric equivalent of eating fruit, napakababa naman po relative rice. Rice shall remain or remains to be the cheapest caloric source, kaya siguro mataas ang pagkain natin ng rice. On the other hand, dapat ma-discourage sila, no? On the calculation of price requirement, the per capita intake should not exceed the science-based optimum healthy dietary intake. Ang ideal ho is 40% of the RDA, which is about 90 kilograms, not 65 or 70%, because that will translate to 130 to 140 kilogram per year. Talaga ho, kaya marami ng diabetic sa mga Filipinos ngayon dahil sa malakas silang kumain ng well-milled rice na napakataas ng glycemic index. Para na lang silang kumakain ng sugar kasi madaling ma-digest yung well-milled rice. So the Department of Agriculture should facilitate crop species diversification. Ang mga magsasaka ho, lost their pinakbit, laoy, bahay, kubo seeds. Kaya kailangan i-facilitate yung pagbibigay nun. Farm policy, yung policy of farm reconciliation through cooperatives, and then later on, mga cooperatives will be guided by expert managers, technical person. Kasi anong nangyari sa bukid natin? Of course, yung mga hacienda, yung mga lalaking bukid noon, na nag-issue tayo ng agrarian reform starting from Macapagal, nung panahon ni Marcos, yung kanyang PD27, yung panahon ni Cory, yung CARP, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, na hanggang ngayon hindi natatapos. Although, marami na nang na-distribute na lupa. But on the other end, yun na nga, merong economies of scale din ho kasi yung pagsasaka even sa production level. So kaya nga, dun sa column ni Dr. Celito Habito, dating NEDA Director General, The Right Path to Food Security, ang sabi niya, we have to rethink land ownership ceilings that keep our farming sector fragmented and costly and our farmers poor. So, ang pinupropose nga niya, yung consolidation, at pinag-uusapan na rin ngayon na pwedeng yung mga corporation, pumasok na sila sa production. And then tinignan ko yung bakit ang Israel naman napaka-successful nasa disyerto sila, nasa desert farming. It is because they are using innovative agricultural techniques. Sa atin, diyan napag-iwanan ng ating mga maliliit na magsasaka. At ang mga farmers din ho doon, nung marinig ko yung interview sa isang magsasaka, PhD na Ang gagaling ho na nila, no? Of course, Israelites' determination to survive, it's a tradition for them. Kasi nga, mga
So, pwede
victims
po
na
natin
ng
siyang gawing
Holocaust sa
Wednesday
mga
o
ito.
Tuesday chat.
Kaya pinagsisikapan nilang
So, yun po. Maraming salamat po sa pagsama po sa amin ngayong hapon. Isa pong napakagandang topic po at ito po ay isang topic na malapit po sa akin puso kasi po ako po ay isang agriculturist by training. Kaya ito pong issue po ng food security, isang bagay na pong mahalaga po para sa akin. At nakakalungkot man po na ito po ay isang issue na sala-salabat, hindi po natin alam kung saan po unang aalsin yung buhol. Pero sana po during our lifetime, magawan po ito ng solusyon at magawa po natin ng paraan para po maiwasan po yung kinakatakot po natin noon pa 20 years ago na food insecurity and hunger po ng population. And with that, maraming salamat po sa pagsama po sa amin ngayong hapon. Makita-kita po tayo uli next week. Same time, same place, same channel. And you all enjoyed your weekend.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Sige po.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, beer. Bye.